Miami weddings run on weather, timing, and nerve. A bride thinks she's the star, but she's really the project manager who can't clock out. A nurse knows this rhythm already. Triage, stabilize, communicate. You think the dress will make you feel protected. It just makes you visible. Everyone watches, and the ritual turns your name into a banner. When your name is at stake, the smallest mistake lands like a public announcement. We chose a small Art Deco hotel on Collins. White tile floors and palms painted on the elevator doors. I was 30, a med-surg nurse who could hang fluids with one hand and calm a panicked family with the other. David, steady, numbers guy, CPA, liked that I made lists for fun. Our coordinator, Tara, floated around with a headset and a clipboard like this was her Super Bowl. The DJ tested. September. My aunt cried in every corner she walked into, and the florist finished tucking gardenias into the arch. You imagine chaos will appear as some dramatic scene. Mostly it walks in wearing a logo polo and carrying a cardboard box. The bakery arrival was late by 20 minutes, which in waiting time feels like an hour. A man wheeled in a tall box strapped to a dolly, nodded at me, and parked it by the kitchen door. Tara signed something and moved on. I followed the box, because nurses don't assume a pump is running just because the screen says so. Quick peek, I told the sous chef. This isn't mistrust, it's prevention. You might call it controlling. I call it not crying in front of my grandmother. We slit the tape and lifted the lid. For tears, smooth white, sugar orchids, perfect. Then I saw the script. Gold cursive, pretty uncertain, like a promise someone else had made. Crystal and Mateo. My throat tightened. Underneath, a date that wasn't ours. The chef said, huh? Like a man reading a weather report. In ceremony culture, names are identity. If the cake says you're someone else, the room will believe it. You tell yourself it's just sugar. It's not. It's the headline. I didn't scream. I assessed. Out there, guests laughed over mojitos. In here, the wrong story sat on a silver board. You think dignity is poise. It's actually choices made under pressure. I told the chef to keep the lid on, and Tara to stall the cake reveal. Run the first dance early, I said, hearing the charge nurse in my voice. I stared at the gold letters, steadying my hands. I need a clean knife, I said, and a plan. In a crisis, you sort options into buckets. Conceal, correct, reframe. Weddings reward the same thinking hospitals do. You control sightlines and story. I told the sous chef to rotate the cake so Crystal and Mateo faced the wall, had the bartender push signature drinks early, and asked the DJ to dim the uplights and cue the first dance. Distraction isn't deception, it's treatment. The room turned toward the dance floor. The box stayed in the kitchen like an uncooperative patient. Kitchens no heat, not handwriting. Gold cursive requires luster, dust, and time. The hotel had neither. They did have white chocolate, a freezer that could set it fast, and a steady-handed line cook who decorated cookies for staff birthdays. That was enough for a field repair. We poured a thin rectangle of white chocolate onto a sheet pan, slid it into the blast chiller, and I thought about how often dignity depends on the tools within reach. You don't wait for the perfect fix when the audience has already arrived. You create a clean version of the truth and move forward. You think you'd shrug at a wrong name and call it funny. You probably wouldn't. Not when your mother-in-law photographs everything like evidence. Not when your aunt live streams without asking. Not when your own name feels like the only steady thing in a day designed to unsteady you. David squeezed my hand and said, "We can laugh." I loved him for that. But this wasn't about a joke. It was about controlling what people would remember when they told the story later. They'd remember the music, the gardenias, and a cake that said who we were. Tara reached the bakery manager. A decorator could come, with gold dust, in 45 minutes. Wedding minutes are dog years. We went with our plan. The chocolate slab set hard, clean, ready for script. I slipped on food-safe gloves the way I slip on sterile ones, checked spacing, and asked for a small piping bag of dark chocolate. Maya and David, I said, hearing how simple and right it sounded. My hands finally stopped buzzing. I steadied the tip over the chilled plaque and drew the first curve of my M. Piping a name felt easier than starting IVs. I breathed the way I teach anxious patients. 4 in, 6 out, then drew the rest of the M. The chocolate flowed smooth. I added the Y, the loop of the A, and it steadied me. Marisol, the line cook, hovered with a small offset spatula like a surgical tech passing instruments. "Clean strokes," she said. "You think pretty handwriting is delicate. It's not. It's decisive," I finished. Maya and David dotted the I and lifted the bag like it might explode if I moved too fast. Attaching the plaque meant solving Miami, which is to say solving humidity. We couldn't press it into buttercream without risking a slide. The chef melted a little chocolate. We spread a thin layer on the back, and I held the slab, while Marisol anchored 2 bamboo skewers behind it like splints. We let it set in the blast chiller for a minute, not more. You learn to respect windows. Too soon and it slips, too late and it cracks. Meanwhile, the DJ cued our first dance. I heard our song bleed through the kitchen door, and pictured my aunt filming my back, the train of my dress sweeping tile instead of marble. Dignity is choreography, and sometimes you dance while solving a sign problem by the freezer. Tara checked the delivery label and winced. The ticket listed vanilla almond with strawberry compote, not our guava and cream cheese. I swallowed that. Flavors can be a footnote when the headline is wrong. "We're not opening it," I said. We attach, we roll, we smile. If you've ever tried to be 2 people at once, you know the feeling. One version of you is on the floor under the lights, the other is in the back taping a dressing. David popped in, kissed my forehead, and said, "Whatever it is, we've got it." We did, because the only other option was letting other people tell our story for us. We lifted the chilled plaque, counted to 3, and placed it. The chocolate glue set like a promise. It wasn't gold, but it was clean, centered, ours. The sous chef piped a quick border around the edges to camouflage the seam. I rotated the cake, so the old names faced the wall forever. Tara radioed the banquet captain. "Cake ready in 2, stand by reveal." We wiped the board, tossed the tape, and I checked my hands for smudges before stepping back into the lobby light. You don't want to be the bride who smells like kitchen. You want to be the bride who solved the kitchen. As the doors swung, the hotel concierge leaned in and asked the question I didn't want to hear. "Has anyone seen the Crystal and Mateo cake? Their planner says it's missing." I felt the room tilt, not from panic, but from the geometry of coincidence. Another reception was setting up 2 floors up, same start time, same bakery. That explained the names. It also meant at some point, someone would come looking, here now, with guests and phones, and a cake that technically belonged to someone else. I straightened my shoulders, smoothed my dress, and told Tara, "Let's cut ours first." We moved the room to the cake table like nothing was wrong. The DJ cooled the lights, David stood behind me, and I put my hand over his on the knife. You think the important part is the cut. It's actually the eye contact right before it. We smiled. The blade slid through frosting that didn't belong to us, and strawberry bled onto the plate where guava should have been. I tasted it and nodded. It was good. Guests care less about flavor than about seeing you feed each other without missing. We did that. Cameras flashed. The room relaxed. Banquet staff whisked the tears away to slice in the back. I caught the captain's sleeve. "Serve the sheet cakes first," I said. We had ordered backup sheets in our flavor because Miami heat is a bully and display cakes can wilt. Sheet cake is the hospital crash cart of weddings. You pray you won't need it, and you're grateful when you do. He nodded and rerouted plates. Out front, the sign said, "Maya and David." Inside, plates would still taste like what we planned. The concierge returned with a woman in black holding a planner binder, the other coordinator. You could tell she'd been putting out small fires for hours. She clocked the plaque, the orchids, the dimensions, and took a breath. "Is there any chance that's the Crystal and Mateo cake?" she asked, not loud, not accusing, just tired. That's when you either get defensive or you lead. I chose lead. I put a hand on her elbow and steered us toward a hallway with Tara. "We just cut it for photos," I said. "Yours is probably upstairs with our names." She blinked and tapped her radio. A voice crackled back. "We have a guava cake with Maya and David in gold." There it was, the mirror version of our problem, wearing our identity. You think sharing fixes everything. It doesn't, it buys you time. I offered a trade without drama. "We keep serving sheet cake down here. You take this display upstairs now. We'll send the card with our gold-lettered one down the service elevator. No announcements, no blame." She looked at me like I'd handed her oxygen. "Thank you," she said. Tara was already calling the kitchen and clearing a path. Marisol popped her head out of the swinging door, ready to roll. Staff swapped like a pit crew. Our wrong cake went onto a dolly, plaque still on, skewers solid. The service elevator dinged, groaned open, and swallowed it. At the same moment, a twin cart arrived carrying a 4-tier guava dream with our names in perfect gold, the exact handwriting I'd imagined. For a second, irritation tried to push past relief. This was what I paid for, but it didn't win. You learn to count wins in real time. We pushed the correct cake into the kitchen, shut the door, and let the room keep dancing. Guests ate, oblivious, which is the highest compliment a plan can earn. David caught my eye from across the ballroom and raised his fork like a toast. I felt the edge of the day soften. Upstairs, someone else would take their picture without a mystery. Down here, I had my name back, and soon, I'd have the gold letters too. The elevator doors closed on the empty dolly, and I finally let my shoulders drop. Upstairs, the other coordinator texted Tara a photo. Their florist had patched the missing slice with a fan of eucalyptus and a single orchid, turned the gap to the wall, and kept their couple moving. Professionals protect ritual the way nurses protect privacy. You manage the angle and the story holds. If you're picturing outrage, you're imagining TV. Real events survive on small, quiet edits that keep the room from noticing the seam. In our kitchen, the correct cake looked like a postcard until we crouched to eye level. The top tier listed half a degree, a tiny lean from transit. Buttercream is a diplomat, gravity is not. The chef snapped bubble tea straws into dowels, drove them in with a steady hand, and leveled the board with 2 coins under the edge. You'd think weddings are about romance. They're actually about engineering. Structure first, then ornament. If you've ever stabilized a situation, baby on one hip, casserole in the other, you already know the principle. The photographer, Elise, slipped through the doors with a telephoto and read the scene faster than most doctors I work with. "We're doing a clean hero pass," she said, already adjusting settings. "That's industry for. Act like this is the only cake we've seen." She pulled me into the light by the service entrance. "We'll do a sweep through the room, hit the table with a gold script, and pretend the first cut never happened." A good photographer isn't just recording, she's editing in real time. You, listening, might think that's fake. It's not. It's choosing the memory you can live with. My mother-in-law materialized at my elbow, phone in hand, eyebrows doing their usual audit. "Is that the right one?" she asked. I met her gaze and smiled. "It's the one going in the album." That landed. She nodded and turned her phone sideways like a director. Meanwhile, Tara recalibrated the program without sounding like she was recalibrating anything. "Folks," the DJ said, "grab your glasses. We've got a sweet moment coming to the dance floor." No mention of cake. No second cut announcement. Just momentum. We rolled the guava tower out, gold letters catching the uplights the way I'd pictured months ago at the tasting. The room drew in that small collective breath people take when something finally matches the image they've been carrying around. Elise floated backward, framing the script, my veil, David's hand on the small of my back. Someone's cousin said, a little too loud, "Didn't they already?" And David answered before the question finished. "More photos," he said, easy, like this abundance was always the plan. The DJ dropped into a slow track, guests swayed, and the hotel staff slipped behind us to reset plates like stagehands. I put my palm on the table edge to feel its steadiness, watched the M in my curve like it had always belonged there, and let my shoulders sit where they were. We didn't cut again. We smiled like we meant it, because we did, and held for the flash. The program slid back on its rails. Toast started, glasses chimed, and the ballroom looked exactly like the mood board I'd saved for months. That's when my phone buzzed in my bouquet. I palmed it for a breath and saw my aunt's earlier live stream. 42 comments asking who Crystal and Mateo were. Rumor is a vacuum pump. It pulls in whatever air is nearby. Weddings create a village, and a village always wants a story. If you don't author it, somebody else will, usually with worse lighting. You imagine you'd ignore it. You won't. Not when your name is the centerpiece. I asked the DJ for 10 seconds between toasts. No drama, just precision. "Quick thank you," I said into the mic, voice steady. 2 weddings, 1 bakery, an honest swap. Our team made it seamless. Please clap for the staff who saved the day. The room did what crowds love to do. It approved itself. People want cues. Give them one and the temperature drops. I didn't mention wrong names, flavors, or floors. I gave everyone a clean narrative with a hero they could applaud that wasn't me. 5 minutes later, the bakery decorator hustled in with a kit like a field medic. Brushes, luster dust, edible alcohol. She looked at the dark chocolate plaque I'd piped and the gold script on the new cake. I can repaint to match, she said, already cracking a jar. You think perfect matters. In motion, consistent matters more. I didn't want a surgery on the table. Dust the edges and the ampersand, I said. Make it wink, not scream. She smiled, grateful for a directive, and tapped gold over the border until it picked up the uplights. The plaque stayed hours. The finish joined the room. Professionals don't chase purity. They chase fit. Plates moved, speeches landed, and the air finally loosened around us. David leaned close. That was elegant, he said, meaning the mic moment, the dusting, the whole invisible scaffolding. Elegance isn't money, it's restraint. Then Tara slipped me a small bakery box like a secret. From upstairs, she whispered. Inside, 2 slices with a sticky note on top. Congrats, Maya and David. We'll laugh about this someday. C&M. There it was, the mirror meeting me halfway. Weddings pretend to be singular. They're really parallel lines trying not to collide. I slid the note into my purse next to the lipstick and the safety pins. Before the night ended, I knew I wanted to find them and close the loop in person. After the toasts, I asked Tara for 5 minutes and slipped toward the service elevator with David. Weddings feel like airports. Rooms with different weather stacked on top of each other. Downstairs, I was the center of a plan. Upstairs, I was a woman in a white dress walking into someone else's story. We stepped out into a ballroom with the same layout, different skyline of faces. Their DJ had a horn section on the playlist. Their grandpa wore a Panama hat and danced with 2 girls at once. I spotted the eucalyptus fan hiding a missing slice and smiled. Crystal and Mateo stood near the balcony doors, holding hands and laughing like people who had also made a day work. I introduced us. We traded the bakery box and the sticky note back and forth, saying the same lines you say when fate bumps you at the buffet. I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Can you believe? Yes, actually. They'd had their own hiccups. The officiant said her last name 2 different ways, and a boutonniere collapsed in the heat. They pointed at the patched tear, unbothered. Your plaque was clean. Crystal said, you saved our photos. I told her she saved my album. We got a quick picture together, 2 couples grinning like cousins at a family reunion none of us planned. You think you'll protect your day like a fortress. You end up running a small town. Someone holds a door. Someone lends scissors. Someone covers a gap with eucalyptus and grace. Nursing taught me to believe in competent strangers. Weddings prove they exist outside hospitals too. If you're listening because you want control, here's the truth you can use. Control is the story you choose to tell out loud. We picked teamwork, and then everyone else repeated it back to us until it was true. Back downstairs, the room felt warmer, looser. My aunt had already posted a clip of me thanking the staff. The comments had shifted from speculation to heart emojis and, love this hotel. The decorator gave Tara her card and an apology. I tucked it away and decided not to spend any more minutes on refunds. Time is the only currency you can't replace on your wedding day. The DJ called for bouquet toss. David squeezed my waist, and for a minute it was simple again. Hands up, laughter, a bunch of flowers arcing like a promise. Then the AV guy plugged in a thumb drive. The projector woke, the screen over the bar blinked, and a title slide filled it. Crystal and Mateo, childhood to now. A beat of silence, a collective oh. I felt the old tilt return, not panic, just the angle of a room about to drift. The first photo, 2 toddlers and a sprinkler, faded up. I stepped forward, hand raised, and caught the AV guy's eye right before the second slide loaded. Identity lives on screens now. If you don't guard it, it will get labeled for you. I smiled, lifted the mic, and moved to stop it before my name disappeared again. I lifted the mic before the second slide loaded and smiled like this was planned. We're going to take a quick dance break, I said, light and clean. The AV guy froze, hand halfway to the laptop, and I gave him the universal sign for blackout. He tapped a key, the screen went dark, and the DJ lifted the volume like a parachute opening. The room turned from watching to moving. That's the trick. When a screen threatens your name, give the crowd a job. Screens aren't neutral. They assign identity. In modern rituals, the person who controls the HDMI cable controls the story. Brides think the dress is the power center, but it's really the tech table. You, planning your day, imagine romance will be the thing you manage. It won't be. You'll manage angles, fonts, and timing. I leaned into the AV booth and kept my voice low. New title slide, Maya and David. Plain white. 10 seconds. He nodded, grateful for direction, fingers already clacking. Tara appeared at his shoulder like a guardian and said, Lower third too, for when the montage comes back. You don't need perfect art. You need legible ownership. Elise materialized with her camera and the calm of someone who fixes chaos for a living. I can airdrop 3 frames from earlier, she said. Reception hug, first dance dip, my mom's hand on mine. That was enough for a loop. The AV guy dragged them into a folder, set a gentle crossfade, and typed a simple headline over the first. Maya and David. No gold, no script, just clean. He previewed it on his monitor while the floor swelled with people doing what they came to do, celebrate. We let a song and a half pass, then brought the screen up like nothing had ever been wrong. The room made that small approving sound people make when the picture matches their brain. I grabbed the mic once more, fast and friendly. Shout out to our upstairs neighbors Crystal and Mateo. 2 weddings, 1 building, lots of love. Miami, right? Laughter. Our montage is up now. Keep dancing, keep eating. That gave the narrative a shared city gloss instead of a glitch. The older cousin stopped squinting at the screen and started clinking glasses again. Maya put her phone away and pulled my grandmother to the floor. The decorator slipped out with a wave. Somewhere between September and a salsa track, the evening relaxed into itself. We coasted for a while. Photos, hugs, small bites of guava on forks. I was about to believe we cleared all the hurdles when Tara tapped my elbow with that look coordinators get when a new tab opens in their brain. License, she said, almost a whisper. The word landed heavier than cake. In Florida, the marriage license isn't theater. It's the part that makes the rest real. Our officiant had tucked it into a leather folio before the ceremony. Now Tara's bag pocket was empty. We checked the sweetheart table, the floral cart, the gift box. Nothing. He might have left it with the other planner upstairs, she said. Not a disaster yet, just a clock we needed to beat before vendors packed and elevators started swallowing carts. David met my eyes and nodded once. We'd handled names and screens. Paper was next. Paper has no music, but it sets the tempo. In Florida, the license isn't a souvenir. It's the one page that makes the party count. I felt the day tighten again, not in panic, just in focus. We split the search the way you split a code blue, clear zones, clear tasks. Tara checked the sweetheart table, the gift box, and her Mary Poppins bag. I took the service corridor with David and scanned every rolling cart for a brown leather folio. Vendors were packing like a tide going out. Paper can disappear in that undertow. Upstairs, the other planner didn't flinch when I asked. Competent people never make you feel bad for asking for help. They get curious with you. We checked the AV booth, the slideshow tote, the gift table with a mirrored top that hides everything. Nothing. David called our officiant. He'd already left Collins. Said he'd toss the folio on our coordinator's cart right after the kiss. He offered to turn around. That wasn't the problem. The problem was the document. We could find a man. We needed to find one page. Weddings are ecosystems. Objects migrate. A pen from the guest book ends up at the bar. A boutonniere travels on a napkin to the kitchen and comes back as garnish. I stood in the upstairs ballroom and looked at the places that could swallow a flat thing. Under cake stands, inside crates, beneath draped linens. Then it hit me, the cake swap. When we traded displays, the crew had leveled the upstairs cake table in a hurry. What do you use in a hurry? Whatever is flat and nearby. We slid 2 fingers under the linen by the cake plate and felt it, leather against my knuckles, square and patient. The folio came out with a sigh of tablecloth, and the corner of someone else's seating chart stuck to the back with a bit of tape. Inside sat our license, tucked exactly where the officiant said, blank witness lines, our names spelled right. Relief feels like removing tight shoes. I carried it like a tray. Downstairs, Tara cleared a corner of the lobby console table and produced a black pen that writes on slick paper without smearing, the kind every nurse steals. We signed, clean and legible. Witness lines are optional here. We added my sister and David's best man because they were in reach and beaming. The last signature belonged to the officiant. He hadn't gone far. We found him on the patio with a club soda, folded like a man who had earned his tips. He blinked when we appeared with a legal document in a folio that still smelled faintly like buttercream. "Thought you had that," he said. "We do now." He signed with a steady hand, printed today's date, and snapped the pen shut like a period. Tara slid the license back into the folio, and into a mailer she produced from her bag as if she carries one for every couple. "I'll take it to the clerk in the morning," she said. That sentence loosened something in my chest I didn't realize I'd been holding all day. We stood there in the hinge of the evening, between lobby and ballroom, between show and paperwork, just long enough for the music to change tracks, and for my aunt to spot us and wave. The names on the cake were right. The montage said our names in a plain font that belonged to us, and the paper that mattered was signed in ink that wouldn't run. I tucked the sticky note from Crystal and Mateo back into my purse like a charm and took David's hand. The DJ cued the last set. We had one more job left, finish the night as ourselves. The last set felt like a long exhale. We did the anniversary dance, hugged the cousins who never RSVP on time, and signed a napkin for the bartender who somehow learned everyone's drink by the second round. When the DJ called the final song, David tucked my hand under his, and we circled the room once. That's the part no one warns you about. The quiet lap where you check the faces and realize the story landed upright. We boxed slices for staff and sent a plate to the front desk with a thank you scribble. The upstairs coordinator texted one more photo. Crystal and Mateo cutting their patched tear, laughing at the eucalyptus fix. I sent her ours with the gold script and the clean border. You think you need perfection. You need kindness that reads on camera. The bakery manager found me before we left, eyes soft, apology rehearsed. I told her we were happy, that her decorator saved the finish, and that notes of guava beat any argument. She pressed a card into my palm and said she'd make our first anniversary cake herself. That felt like enough. Morning came with strong coffee and shoes that remembered how far I'd walked. Tara handed me a tracking number for the license, a folded timeline with check marks, and a hug that made me believe in competent strangers all over again. David and I took a short walk down Collins, the ocean doing its usual job out of sight, and opened the sticky note from C&M one more time. We snapped a photo holding it, and sent it to them with a simple line. Same building, same date, right names in the end. Here's the clean lesson hiding in the noise. Not a sermon, just what a nurse bride confirmed in a ballroom. Names are agreements, and agreements can be protected by small, fast choices. If you're the type who needs control, learn the part that matters. Sight lines, timing, tone. The rest can wobble and still hold. Dignity isn't marble and gold script. It's choosing your words and your pace while the room watches. When people asked later how it went, I told them the truth without the footnotes. We had music. We had people who showed up. We had cake that said our names twice. Somewhere in Miami, another couple did too. I slid the sticky note into our box of keepsakes, along with a menu card dusted with luster. Then I watched David hold the door for a family with suitcases and felt the day click into place. I didn't get perfection. I got ours.